Math 98 Exam Review, Spring 2015, Part 3. You must be able to translate phrases and problems like these shown here. Please note there may be some slight differences between these problems and those in your printed guide. First example, the product of 10 and 3 more than a number x. A couple of key things here. The word product means to multiply. The words more than mean you'll add. When you see the words the product of, you know that two things to be multiplied, or maybe more than two things, but at least two things, are going to follow that word of. And those two things will be separated by the word and. The product of one number and another number. The first number in this case is 10. The expression that is after the word and is 3 more than a number x. More than means to add, so the part after and is x plus 3. So the product of these two numbers is 10 times quantity x plus 3. We use the parentheses to indicate two things. One, multiplication, and two, that these two values are together being added. The product of 8 and 5 less than a number x. Here we have the word product and the words less than. Again, product will mean to multiply, and this time less than will mean to subtract. When you see the words the product of, you know that two or more numbers to be multiplied will follow. Those numbers will be separated by the word and. Here our numbers are 8 and 5 less than a number x. The first of the two numbers is 8, so it is written first. And then the second number is 5 less than a number x. That means x subtract 5. Since it's a product, we'll be multiplying 8 and the quantity x minus 5. The parentheses will group this difference or this subtraction problem together and indicate the multiplication. The sum of 6 and the product of 4 and a number x. So we have several things going on here. We have the sum of numbers and we have the product of numbers. So we need to decide what are the numbers that we will add and what are the numbers that will be multiplied. We see the words the sum of. That means that two numbers or more will follow with the words and between them, and that will indicate the two numbers to be added. So the first number is 6, and the second number is the product of 4 and a number x. The first number is 6, so we write 6. Sum means to add, and the second number is the product of 4 and a number x. Product means to multiply. After the words product of, you will see two numbers, or more perhaps, separated by the word and those are the two numbers to be multiplied. In this case, they are 4, and a number x, or 4x. So we have the sum, that's the addition, of 6, that's the first number in our answer, and, that is the plus sign, the product of 4 and a number x, 6 plus 4x. Here we have a problem that we will translate and solve. The length of a triangle is 10 meters more than the width. Now you can note that this 10 may be a 5 on your original worksheet depending on when you printed it. The length of a triangle is 10 meters more than the width. Its area is 75 square meters. What is the perimeter of this rectangle? So we know its area and we have to find the perimeter. The best thing to do whenever you have a problem of this sort is to draw a picture. Label the parts you know. We know that the length of the triangle is 10 meters more than the width. Now, this picture is not drawn to scale, and in fact, these should be labeled W plus 10 on the bottom and W on the side. It's not to scale, doesn't really matter, just so you know that obviously W plus 10 is going to actually be longer than W. But this gives you the idea of how we'll calculate the area. Area is length times width, and so we're going to multiply W and W plus 10. That's the length and the width. It's a multiplication problem. It doesn't matter which order you do it in. However, the W plus 10 should be in parentheses. We also know the area is 75, so instead of instead of A, we write 75. And then we proceed to solve this equation. So if we're going to solve 75 equals W times W plus 10, the first thing we must do is distribute, noting that we have a squared term or a quadratic equation. The procedure for solving a quadratic equation is to get 0 on one side. So 75 is subtracted and then it's factored. W minus 5 times W plus 15. Those are the products of the product of 75 that adds up to 10. The factors of 75 are numbers that will multiply that add up to 10. They're negative 5 and positive 15. Now we set each factor equal to 0. So the first factor, W minus 5, can be 0, or W plus 15 can be 0, because when two numbers multiply for 0, one of them has to be a 0. If we solve these two factors, or these two small equations, we see that W is 5 or negative 15, but we eliminate negative 15 because it can't be a value for a length. So the width of the rectangle can't be negative 15 meters, so we know that the width has to be 5 meters. Now, if the width is 5 meters, this width plus 10, or the length, is W plus 10, or 5 plus 10, which turns out to be 15. So since W is 5, 5 adds to 10 to get 15. We know that the area is the length times the width, so now we've found them to be 5 and 15. We found the 5 when we solved the equation. We found the 15 when we substituted it into the W plus 10. We multiply those, we get 75. So we know we have our length and width right now. Now the last part of the problem said, what is the perimeter of the rectangle? So to find the perimeter, we use the formula P equals 2L plus 2W. Well, we know the L and we know the W. And length and width here, I think that I've got 2W plus 2L here actually. It doesn't matter. We're going to double each one of those. So 2 times 5 and 2 times 15. And so our perimeter is 10 and 30, because when you do perimeter, you go all the way around the edges. So there's a 5 here and a 5 on the top. That makes the 10. And there's a 15 here and a 15 here. That makes the 30. Therefore, our perimeter is 40 meters. So the perimeter of a rectangle, where one side is 5 longer than the other, or 10 longer than the other, and the area is 75, the perimeter has to be 40 meters. Jack studied for 21 hours last week. Please note this may be a different number from what is on your original worksheet, depending on when you printed it. On Monday, he studied twice as long as Tuesday. Thursday, he studied 3 hours less than Tuesday. If X represents the number of hours he studied on Tuesday, write an equation that could be used to find the number of hours he studied each day. And I'll go ahead and solve that equation just to give you some practice with solving the equation. Hours he studied on Tuesday. If X represents the number of hours he studied on Tuesday, notice that hours should be hours. So X is going to be the number of hours on Tuesday. Next, we know on Monday he studied twice as long. So Monday has to be twice Tuesday, or 2X. Thursday he studied 3 hours less than Tuesday. Tuesday is X, 3 hours less is x minus 3. The total was given as 21 hours. So the hours on Monday, the hours on Tuesday, and the hours on Thursday will represent this total number of hours he studied last week. So, Monday 2x, Tuesday x, Wednesday x minus 3 has to total up to 21. So we add those numbers together. Combining the x's, 4x, 1x is 3x, and 1 more is 4x. Subtract 3 equals 21. That should be a 21. Please note on your paper that 24 should be a 21. And here I have corrected it. 4x minus 3 has to be 21. And now when we add 3 to both sides, we do get 24. Divide both sides by 4 to get x equals 6. Now, this is the equation that represents the number of hours. This is x, the number of hours for Tuesday. If there are 6 hours on Tuesday, that means there are 2 times 6, or 12 hours on Monday, and 6 minus 3, or 3 hours on Thursday. And to double check it, add the number of hours he studied, 6, 12, and 13, to make sure you get the total 21. 6 plus 12 is 18, and 3 is 21, so this checks.